Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Kimboy and this is According to Kimboy. So in today's video, we're going to discuss what it takes to be a software engineer in 2025. And I personally am a software engineer. I have got like three years of experience, a real world experience that is. But I'd say like I have close to 8 years of experience in general. That is with school combined. So I think I have a few things to share with you concerning on what it takes to actually be a software engineer and what you need to be a software engineer. So, well, let's start with education first, because I don't think you're going to be a software engineer without education. And I don't mean going to college in this case, because you can educate yourself, right? You can school yourself. Because with education, you can self-teach yourself, right? There are a lot of engineers. In fact, some are my friends who have done self teaching. They've taught themselves. Someone can say that they've attended YouTube University and the Internet University, that is. And you find that some of them are even senior developers in some companies. So they build systems and they provide solutions. So essentially, what I mean is you don't really need to go to school. So, but personally, I went to school and I think I can attest that 90% of the things that you are taught in school, in most cases, they are not that useful out here. You don't get to actually use them that much because you find that in most cases, you only get to learn a lot, on the way. And if you've attended Kenyan schools, for example, you find that most of the technologies that they are teaching in Kenyan schools, you find that they are not that useful, out here. For example, you see, when we were in campus, we were taught C as during introduction to programming. And out here, it's very rare to find a company that uses C. Yeah, although I see some big tech companies like the likes of Microsoft, they're still using C. Yeah, so at some point it could come in use, but you find that some of those things that they teach in campuses, it's not really that useful out here. Not very much. It's in most cases it's what you teach yourself. So I'm just trying to encourage someone who probably did not go through the school way, right? And who is probably willing to like learn on your own, right? So you can't do that. So you see, some of the things that we are taught in campus is mathematics, calculus, statistics. You find that we are taught calculus 1, calculus 2, statistics 1, statistics 2. So you find that all of those things are not really that necessary. Yeah. So as long as you can think critically and think logically, I think you are good to go. Because in most cases, you find that when you're building softwares, you use your mental, uh, you use your brain to think logically. Because it's all about logic, really. Yeah, I think that's what is important. And so now let's discuss the skills that you actually need to succeed out here. Okay. You see, as I said, we were taught C as a language and C++, but out here in the market, I've never really used any C, right? So personally, there's some tech stacks like React, for example, that are very common out here, and you find that most clients and most companies they require those skills, like React, TypeScript, you know, Next, things like that, and some frameworks. You know? Uh, Although someone can say that 50, about 70% of the world's web, is made with PHP, right? Yes, I think I can credit schools on that PHP because as far as it's not that used out here, but it still has some relevance when it comes to the internet, right? Because a lot of the internet is made with PHP, and I think you can create a lot of APIs with PHP. Yeah, so those are just some of the skills, and you find that there are two types of skills that you need. You need some technical skills and soft skills as well. So what I've just stated are technical skills, but you also need soft skills, because without soft skills, I don't think you're going to make it out here. It's very important to have soft skills like communication skills, people skills. You are able to collaborate with others, and this is a big thing. You can't be a software engineer without being able to collaborate with other people. And that brings me to another very important tool, which is version control systems. You see, there's this systems called version control, and essentially what it does is it allows people to collaborate. In most cases, when you go to companies, you find that you're not just the only engineer. Like you are at a team. You're part of a team. So you find that there's that senior level engineer, maybe mid-level engineer, and interns. So there's that rank, and you find that each and every person has a role to play when it comes to building that software, right? So you find that at some point you'll have to collaborate, and version control systems are very important as far as collaboration is needed, right? So you find that you're supposed to work as a team. So you find that you're using something like GitHub, for example, which is a very common type of version control system, right? And you find that everyone has their own branches. If you've gone through GitHub, I'm sure you understand this. So essentially, with GitHub, there's branches where each and everyone can work on different features on different branches. Then those branches can be merged together, combined to form a single branch, which is then going to be the final version of the code. So you are essentially, that's how you collaborate. Yeah. So I think another important skill also is listening skills. You see, this is one of the most underrated skills, if you ask me, because in most cases people just assume that as long as you can communicate, you are good to go. But I don't think that is the case only. You also need to have some listening skills, because if you don't have listening skills, I don't think you will be able to communicate effectively, because I think it's very important to have the listening skills, especially when dealing with clients. Find that you have to note very clearly what the client wants at any particular time. What is it that they want you to improve on, and how can you improve on? Because now without listening, then you can't communicate, you can't execute effectively, right? Yeah. So now let's talk about the advantages of becoming a software engineer, right? So one of the common one is remote work. Yeah. See, the idea of being a nomad in some way, right? You are in the beach and you're working. You are you are you're in a different county and you're working remotely, right? You're in a different continent, but you're working in a company abroad, right? I think that's one of the advantages, right? And now, um, another advantage is also the ability of feeling that you're solving the world's problems. You see, with technology, you can actually fix any problem out there. I strongly believe that. And with the evolution of the AI right now, I think you can do a lot of things. Yeah. So that feeling of always being able to create something of your own from scratch, I think is a big deal, right? It is one of the advantages, if you ask me. Yeah, and also talking of pay, I think software engineers make some decent salary. Yeah, if you ask me. I think in Kenya, software engineers, senior software engineers, they make about 300,000 Kenyan shillings per month, 400,000, 500,000, depending on the level of experience, of course, and the company they're working for. For junior developers, definitely that's a bit little, probably 20 to 50 there. Yeah, if you're mid-level, probably 50 to 100 there. You see, it's not that bad, right? Considering the economic times, right? So you find that at some point, even if you go to uh, the developed economies, right, you will find that at some point software engineers are some of the top paid. Yeah. And the disadvantage is always that idea of feeling like a nerd. You're always in an office. Find that your job revolves around the office, and you always have to fix things in the office, and you don't get to be out there. If you are doing research, you'll find yourself in the fields, right? But if you are a software engineer, you'll always find yourself in the office and in front of a computer, right? Behind a screen, right? That's literally your job, right? Someone can say it's tiring, and it consumes your mind a lot. So you find that you are always tired. I, I think this can be a disadvantage, but I'd say that this applies to any profession, right? At some point you'll get tired. There are some time you'll have to hit deadlines and stuff like that, but I don't think that I think that's just the norm. That's how life is. At some point you have to grind, right? And now let's talk about the procedure now of getting a job. Assuming now you've gone to school or you've learned those skills yourself. Now you have the idea of what you want to do. Now, what are the procedures that it takes for you to get that job? So one of them is, first of all, making your CV. Okay. And by making your CV, you need to make sure that you put you make sure you clearly state the skills that you possess, right? When it comes to education, make sure you label that very well. When it comes to certifications, put it there, right? Make sure everything is in order, and then now start applying to a lot of jobs, right? I mean, I'd say that it's trial and error, right? The more you apply, the higher the chances of you getting that job. So if you can throw like 100 CVs, then there's a chance that you could get 5 interviews, right? And out of those 5 interviews, probably you could get one. Now imagine if you could apply if you could apply for 1,000 jobs, right? You could increase your chances, right? So it's all about trying and always brushing your skills all the time, right? And then now, and yeah, after that now, it's about marketing. Assuming you've been selected, it's about marketing yourself, selling yourself when it comes to the interviews themselves. And also when it comes to the technical rounds of the interviews, you make sure that you actually perform well in those technical rounds, right? So you just prepare properly, and definitely you're going to be good. So now what is it that is going to take for you to become a good software engineer? One is, don't quit, right? You don't quit, okay? They say quitters never win, right? Yeah, if you don't quit, you're not going to lose. You're not going to lose. So it's all about going and going and going and being persistent, no matter how tough the times are, right? So especially, I think this applies when you're building skills for the first time. You find that you always have to learn these things that are new to you, but at some point you'll feel like quitting. That's for sure. You sometimes feel like throwing the laptop away, but you'll just have to keep going, because if you quit, then you lose definitely. But if you don't quit, then you're going to be better and better and better as you go, right? Yeah. And just be consistent, because I don't think you're going to be successful in anything in this world without consistency, if you ask me, right? The more you do it long enough, that's how you just make it, in my view. Now, what are some of the qualities, of being a good software engineer as well? Is you need to be a very good problem solver, very good problem solver. You can see a problem, think about a solution, and try to now use your skills and utilize your skills to actually fix those problems, right? You see, I think a good example is, let's say, for example, I'm going to just use this simple example. Let's say, for example, you see you're in a shop and you see the way the shopkeeper keeps records of debts, of debtors, those who've borrowed. So you find that probably they're doing it manually. But now, that's now the problem. They're doing it manually and it's not effective. So after identifying the problem now, you go through all those software engineering steps to solve that problem. You do some planning, you come up with architecture, you go through tools like Figma, for example, create some prototypes. Now design the database and stuff like that, the APIs, the UI, things like that. So you find that in the end you've solved that problem. Yeah, you've been creative as so you've identified the problem and then you've solved the problem. And then now that solution can be used by people out there, right? So I'll say that's what it takes for you to be a software developer. And if you they are listening to me, of course I wish you good luck. And as well, and also if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel as well, and also like also leave your comments in the comment section. I'd be interested to hearing what you think about software engineering, and of course support the channel by subscribing. Thank you. See you in the next one. Bye.